Throughout history, Ethiopia has been a land of deep spiritual roots, a place where faith was not just a belief, but a way of life. Before Christianity took hold, Ethiopians followed a mixture of indigenous beliefs, Judaism, and ancient polytheistic traditions. But something powerful happened, a transformation that changed the course of the nation's history forever. When Christianity was introduced to Ethiopia, it wasn't just another religion. It was a call to something greater. It was a call to leave behind old ways, to embrace a new path, and to step into a divine destiny. That same call exists today. It is a call for every person to seek truth, to find purpose, and to live a life that glorifies God. Ethiopia's conversion to Christianity is one of the earliest and most significant moments in history, but the lesson is bigger than just a historical event. It teaches us about faith, transformation, sacrifice, and commitment to God's will. It reminds us that when God calls, we must be willing to answer, even when it means stepping away from what is comfortable and familiar. Here are 6 powerful lessons from Ethiopia's transformation. Lessons that apply not just to a nation, but to your own spiritual journey. Growth requires change. Growth is never easy, but it is always necessary. If you want to become something greater than you are today, you have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to let go of what is familiar, step into the unknown, and trust that the process will shape you into the person God created you to be. Growth requires change, and change requires faith. Without it, you remain stuck in the same patterns, the same habits, and the same mindset that have held you back for too long. Ethiopia's journey to Christianity is a perfect example of how growth demands change. Before the arrival of Christianity, Ethiopia had deeply rooted religious traditions, including indigenous spiritual practices and Jewish influences. These beliefs were part of their culture, their identity, and their history. But when the message of Christ was introduced, it brought a challenge to change, to believe in something new, and to shift their faith toward the one true God. That transformation didn't happen overnight. It required courage. It required an open heart. It required people who were willing to embrace something unfamiliar because they believed it was the truth. In your own life, the same principle applies. You cannot grow if you are unwilling to change. You cannot step into the purpose God has for you if you are still clinging to your old ways, your old mindset, and your old fears. Many people pray for change, but when the opportunity for growth presents itself, they resist. They say they want to be better, but they don't want to let go of their comfort. They want success, but they are unwilling to sacrifice. They want transformation, but they refuse to take the steps required to make it happen. Real growth begins when you stop resisting change and start embracing it. When you let go of excuses and start moving forward, no matter how uncertain it feels. God never calls people to stay the same. He calls them to be transformed. He called Moses to leave the palace and step into his destiny as a leader. He called Peter to leave his fishing boat and follow Jesus. He called Paul to leave behind his old life and become one of the greatest apostles in history. And he is calling you too. But here's the truth. Growth is uncomfortable. It will stretch you. It will challenge you. It will force you to confront things about yourself that you would rather ignore. But that is the only way to become better. That is the only way to fulfill your potential. Comfort zones are where dreams die. If you stay where you are because it feels safe, you will never experience the fullness of what God has for you. Think about the people in Ethiopia who had to make the decision to follow Christ. They had to leave behind generations of traditions. They had to unlearn old ways and embrace a new truth. They had to take a leap of faith, trusting that God's plan was bigger than their past. And because they were willing to grow, Ethiopia became one of the strongest Christian nations in history. The same choice is in front of you. Will you stay the same, or will you step into growth? Will you hold on to what is familiar, even if it is limiting you, or will you trust God enough to change? Growth requires faith. Growth requires action. Growth requires letting go of who you were so you can become who you were meant to be. If you are serious about becoming the best version of yourself, start embracing change. Stop resisting the process. Trust that God is leading you towards something greater, because the moment you stop fearing change is the moment you start truly growing. Strength comes from conviction. Strength is not just about physical power or resilience. It comes from conviction. It comes from knowing who you are, what you believe in, and standing firm no matter what comes against you. Conviction is what separates those who merely say they believe from those who live their beliefs out loud. It is the foundation of unshakable faith, the driving force behind every great leader, and the mark of those who leave a lasting impact. Without conviction, strength fades. Without conviction, people compromise. Without conviction, it is easy to be swayed by the opinions, pressures, and challenges of life. Ethiopia's transformation into one of the world's earliest Christian nations was not just a historical event. It was a powerful display of conviction. Before Christianity, Ethiopia had deeply rooted religious traditions. These beliefs were woven into their culture, their identity, and their way of life. But when the message of Christ reached them, they had to make a choice. They had to decide whether to hold on to the past or step into something new, whether to follow the truth or stay where they were comfortable. That decision required more than just interest in Christianity. It required conviction. Conviction is what gives people the strength to stand firm even when it's difficult. It is what allows them to keep pushing forward when the world tells them to turn back. It is what keeps them from compromising their values, no matter the cost. Ethiopia's early Christian leaders and believers had to be willing to stand up for their faith, even when it meant opposition. They had to hold on to their beliefs, even when it was not popular or easy. And because they did, Christianity took root and flourished, shaping the spiritual foundation of the nation for generations. That same kind of strength is needed in your life. Without conviction, it is easy to be influenced by circumstances. It is easy to let fear dictate your decisions. It is easy to waver in your beliefs when challenges arise. But when you have conviction, nothing can shake you. You don't back down when things get hard. You don't give up when obstacles appear. You don't compromise when the world pressures you to conform. Conviction gives you the strength to remain firm in your faith, your values, and your purpose. Look at the greatest figures in history, those who made a difference, those who changed the world, those who left a legacy. They all had one thing in common: conviction. They believed in something so strongly that they were willing to fight for it, sacrifice for it, and even suffer for it. Jesus had conviction. He knew his purpose, and he never wavered, even when faced with betrayal, suffering, and death. The apostles had conviction. They spread the gospel even when it meant persecution. The early Christians had conviction. They built their faith under pressure, choosing to follow Christ even when it cost them everything. They all had one thing in common: conviction. They believed in something so strongly that they were willing to fight for it, sacrifice for it, and even suffer for it. Jesus had conviction. He knew his purpose, and he never wavered, even when faced with betrayal, suffering, and death. The apostles had conviction. They spread the gospel even when it meant persecution. The early Christians had conviction. They built their faith under pressure, choosing to follow Christ even when it cost them everything. So the question is, where is your conviction? Do you stand firm in your faith, or do you waver when it becomes inconvenient? Do you hold on to God's truth, or do you compromise when the world tells you to? Strength does not come from how much you can endure. It comes from why you are enduring it. If your conviction is weak, your strength will be weak. If your conviction is strong, nothing will move you. Ethiopia's journey to Christianity is a reminder that faith is not about convenience. It is about commitment. It is about having the strength to stand firm, to trust God, and to hold on to truth no matter what. If you want real strength in your life, build it on conviction. Know what you believe, stand by it, and never waver. Because true strength does not come from comfort. It comes from courage. The past doesn't define you. Your past does not define you. It doesn't matter where you came from, what mistakes you've made, or how many times you've fallen. What matters is what you choose to do next. Too many people stay trapped in their past, believing that their failures, struggles, or old ways will always define them. But the truth is, God is in the business of transformation. He does not look at who you were. He looks at who you can become. The past is a lesson, not a life sentence. It is meant to teach you, not trap you. Ethiopia's journey to Christianity is a perfect example of this truth. Before accepting Christ, Ethiopia had a long history of diverse religious beliefs, including indigenous spiritual practices and Jewish influences. These traditions had been in place for generations, shaping the identity of the people. But when the gospel arrived, a choice had to be made. Would they hold on to their past, or would they step into a new future with Christ? The decision to embrace Christianity wasn't about erasing their history, it was about stepping into something greater. They realized that their past did not have to define them. Their faith in God could. This lesson is just as true for individuals as it is for nations. You may have a past filled with mistakes, regrets, or struggles, but that does not mean you are bound to that version of yourself. God's grace is bigger than your past. He specializes in taking broken people and making them whole. Look at the lives of Paul, Peter, and countless others in the Bible. People who had flaws, people who had made mistakes, people who were once far from God, but when they encountered Christ, everything changed. Their past no longer defined them. Their future in Him did. The enemy wants to keep you focused on your past because he knows that if you stay there, you will never step into your purpose. He whispers lies that tell you you're not good enough, that you've made too many mistakes, that you can never change. But God says otherwise. He says you are forgiven. He says you are redeemed. He says you are a new creation in Christ. The question is, will you believe the lies or will you believe the truth? Too often, people let their past failures hold them back. They think because they've messed up before, they can never succeed. They believe that because they struggled once, they will always struggle. But the past is not a reflection of what is possible for your future. The only thing keeping you tied to your past is your unwillingness to move forward. Think about this. If Ethiopia had refused to embrace Christianity because of its past traditions, it would have missed out on its powerful faith legacy. If Paul had let his past as a persecutor of Christians define him, he would have never become one of the greatest apostles. If Peter had let his moment of denial be the end of his story, he would have never led the early church. The difference between those who live in regret and those who step into their calling is the willingness to let go of the past and embrace what God is doing now. God is always moving forward. He is always calling people higher. He is always transforming lives. The only thing standing in the way is whether you will accept it. Will you keep looking back, or will you take hold of what He has for you? Your past does not define you. Your mistakes do not define you. Your failures do not define you. God defines you, and He is calling you to something greater. Let go of the past, walk in faith, and step into the future that God has prepared for you. The right guidance changes everything. The right guidance changes everything. No matter how much potential you have, no matter how strong your faith is, and no matter how big your dreams may be, without the right direction, you will struggle to reach your destination. Every great journey requires a guide, someone who has wisdom, experience, and a vision for what lies ahead. Without guidance, people wander. Without wisdom, they make avoidable mistakes. Without leadership, they often fall short of their purpose. But with the right guidance, lives are transformed, destinies are fulfilled, and entire nations are changed. Ethiopia's conversion to Christianity is a perfect example of how the right guidance can shape the course of history. Before Christianity reached Ethiopia, the nation had strong religious traditions rooted in indigenous beliefs and Judaism. But when the gospel arrived, it didn't spread by accident. It was through the guidance of key individuals who led the way. One of the most significant figures was Frumentius, a missionary who played a crucial role in introducing Christianity to Ethiopia. His wisdom, dedication, and leadership helped lay the foundation for Ethiopia to become one of the earliest Christian nations in the world. His guidance didn't just impact one person, it transformed an entire people. This is the power of the right guidance. One voice, one leader, one mentor can change everything. Without Frumentius, Ethiopia's journey to Christianity might have been delayed or even lost. Without someone to teach, to guide, and to show the way, many would have remained in spiritual darkness. The same is true in every area of life. No matter how talented you are, no matter how much faith you have, without the right leadership, your growth will be limited. Look at your own life. Who is guiding you? Who is speaking wisdom into your decisions? Who is helping you grow in faith, in purpose, and in discipline? Many people fail not because they lack potential, but because they lack direction. They listen to the wrong voices, follow the wrong influences, and end up lost, wondering why they never reach their God-given potential. But those who seek wisdom, those who surround themselves with the right mentors, those who allow themselves to be guided, those are the ones who rise. Proverbs 11:14 says, "Where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety." This is not just a suggestion, it is a truth that has been proven time and time again. The right guidance leads to victory, while the lack of guidance leads to failure. If you are trying to do everything on your own, refusing to seek wisdom, refusing to listen to those who have walked the path before you, you are making the journey harder than it has to be. The people of Ethiopia could have rejected the guidance of those who brought them the gospel. They could have clung to their old ways, refusing to listen. But because they were willing to follow the right direction, they stepped into a new destiny, one that still impacts their nation today. You have the same choice in your life. You can resist wisdom and remain stuck, or you can seek the right guidance and grow into who you were meant to be. It is not a sign of weakness to seek help. It is a sign of wisdom. Every great leader, every successful person, every strong believer has had mentors, teachers, and guides along the way. Even Jesus guided his disciples, teaching them, shaping them, and preparing them to carry out his mission. If Jesus understood the importance of guidance, how much more should we? You were never meant to walk this journey alone. Surround yourself with people who will push you toward your purpose, who will help you grow in faith, and who will hold you accountable to the calling on your life. Because with the right guidance, everything can change. Legacy is built through action. Legacy is not built on intentions. It is not built on dreams, wishes, or words alone. Legacy is built through action. What you do every day, the choices you make, the way you live your life, that is what determines the mark you leave on this world. Too many people talk about what they want to do, but they never take action. They dream of success, but never work for it. They desire change, but never make the sacrifices required to bring it to life. A lasting legacy is not given. It is earned through consistent action, unwavering commitment, and faith in something greater than yourself. Ethiopia's Christian legacy was not established overnight. It took bold decisions, unwavering faith, and action from those who believed in the gospel. When Christianity was introduced to Ethiopia, the nation had already been shaped by long-standing religious traditions. But the leaders and believers who embraced Christ didn't just accept the faith, they lived it. They built churches, spread the message, and laid the foundation for future generations to follow. If they had simply believed in Christ but never acted on that belief, Ethiopia's faith history would look very different today. Their legacy was built not through words, but through action. The same principle applies to your life. What legacy are you building? What impact are you making? It is not enough to say you want to change the world. You have to put in the work. If you want to be remembered for your faith, you have to live it daily. If you want to inspire others, you have to show them what dedication looks like. If you want to leave something meaningful behind, you have to take action now. Faith without works is dead. You can believe in your calling, but if you do nothing with it, it means nothing. You can say you want to help people, but if you never step up to serve, your words are empty. You can claim you want to follow God's plan, but if you continue to live in fear and hesitation, you will never see that plan fulfilled. Every great person in history, every leader, every innovator, every world changer left a legacy because they took action. They did not wait for the perfect moment. They did not sit around hoping things would change on their own. They moved forward, step by step, no matter how uncertain the path looked. Ethiopia's faith legacy reminds us that real impact requires work. It requires boldness. It requires stepping out of comfort and into purpose. If those early Christian leaders had been afraid of change, if they had hesitated to spread the gospel, their legacy would have ended with them. But because they acted, their faith spread across generations. What will your story be? Will you be remembered as someone who talked about making a difference but never did? Or will you be someone whose actions spoke louder than words? It is not too late to start building your legacy. It is not too late to take action on what God has called you to do. but you cannot afford to wait forever. The greatest tragedy is not failure, it is never trying at all. Do not let fear hold you back. Do not let doubt keep you stuck. Move forward, take action, and build something that will last beyond your lifetime. Legacy is built through action. The question is, what are you doing today that will be remembered tomorrow? Transformation begins within. Transformation is not something that happens by accident. It does not come from outside forces alone, and it is not something that others can do for you. True transformation begins within. It starts with a decision, a commitment, and a willingness to change. It is not about waiting for the perfect moment or for everything around you to fall into place. It is about looking inward, examining your heart, and allowing God to shape you from the inside out. Ethiopia's conversion to Christianity is a powerful example of this truth. Before Christianity took root in the nation, Ethiopia had deep religious traditions that had been part of its identity for generations. These traditions shaped their culture, their practices, and their way of thinking. But when the gospel was introduced, something had to change. Not just externally, but internally. The people had to open their hearts to a new way of thinking, a new faith, and a new identity in Christ. That transformation did not start with laws, rulers, or external pressures. It started within the hearts of the people who chose to embrace the message of Jesus. And that is exactly how transformation works in your life as well. Too often, people believe that change will happen when their circumstances improve. They think that if they had more money, more opportunities, or more support, then they would finally become the person they were meant to be. But real change does not come from the outside. It comes from within. You can have all the resources in the world, but if your mindset remains the same, nothing will change. You can be given every opportunity, but if you are not prepared to grow, you will never take advantage of it. You can be surrounded by the right people, but if you do not allow transformation to happen inside of you, you will stay the same. Look at the people in the Bible who experienced true transformation. It did not begin with external changes. It began with internal shifts. Paul was transformed from a persecutor of Christians to one of the greatest apostles, not because his circumstances changed, but because his heart did. Peter went from a fearful disciple who denied Jesus to a bold preacher who led the early church, not because the world became safer, but because his faith grew stronger. Zacchaeus, the corrupt tax collector, went from cheating people to giving generously, not because someone forced him to, but because his heart was changed by Jesus. Transformation is always an inside job. If you want to change your life, you have to start by changing your heart. If you want to grow spiritually, you have to surrender to God's will. If you want to break free from bad habits, negative thinking, or destructive behaviors, you have to first change your mindset. That is why so many people struggle to move forward. They are waiting for external changes, but they have not done the internal work required to truly transform. Think about it like this. If you pour clean water into a dirty cup, the water will become contaminated. The problem is not the water, the problem is the condition of the cup. The same is true in life. You can try to add success, relationships, opportunities, and even faith into your life, but if your heart is not in the right condition, nothing will last. True transformation happens when you allow God to clean the inside first. Only then will the external changes be meaningful and lasting. Ethiopia did not just accept Christianity as a new label. The faith took root in their hearts. It became part of their identity, their values, and their purpose. That kind of deep transformation is what leads to lasting impact. It is the same in your life. If you only change on the surface, if you only modify your behavior without transforming your heart, your growth will be temporary. But if you allow God to work within you, if you allow Him to renew your mind and reshape your heart, the transformation will be real and permanent. So how do you begin this transformation? First, you have to recognize that change is necessary. You cannot grow if you believe you have already arrived. You cannot improve if you think you have nothing to work on. Humility is the first step to transformation. You have to be willing to admit that there is room for growth, that there are things in your heart that need to be refined, and that you need God's help to become who you are meant to be. Second, you have to surrender to God's process. Transformation does not happen overnight. It is a journey, a process, and a daily commitment. You cannot expect instant results, but you can trust that every step you take in faith is bringing you closer to who you are meant to be. Third, you have to take action. Faith without works is dead. Transformation requires effort, discipline, and intentionality. You cannot just hope for change. You have to work for it. If you want to grow spiritually, you need to spend time in prayer, read the Word, and surround yourself with people who will strengthen your faith. If you want to break bad habits, you need to set boundaries, remove temptations, and stay accountable. If you want to become a person of impact, you need to start serving, giving, and stepping into your calling. Transformation is not a passive process, it is an active pursuit. But the good news is that you are not alone in it. God is with you every step of the way. He is guiding you, strengthening you, and shaping you into the person He created you to be. Ethiopia's faith transformation was not just about adopting a new religion. It was about embracing a new identity. It was about a nation choosing to align itself with God's truth and walking in His purpose. The same opportunity is available to you. No matter where you have been, no matter what your past looks like, no matter what struggles you have faced, transformation is possible. And it starts with you. Are you willing to let go of the old and step into the new? Are you ready to allow God to transform your heart, your mind, and your life? Because when you do, everything changes. Your past no longer defines you. Your struggles no longer control you. Your purpose becomes clearer, your faith becomes stronger, and your life begins to reflect the power of God at work within you. Transformation begins within, and once it starts, nothing can stop what God is doing in your life. You have to recognize that change is necessary. You cannot grow if you believe you have already arrived. You cannot improve if you think you have nothing to work on. Humility is the first step to transformation. You have to be willing to admit that there is room for growth, that there are things in your heart that need to be refined, and that you need God's help to become who you are meant to be. Second, you have to surrender to God's process. Transformation does not happen overnight. It is a journey, a process, and a daily commitment. You cannot expect instant results, but you can trust that every step you take in faith is bringing you closer to who you are meant to be. Third, you have to take action. Faith without works is dead. Transformation requires effort, discipline, and intentionality. You cannot just hope for change. You have to work for it. If you want to grow spiritually, you need to spend time in prayer, read the Word, and surround yourself with people who will strengthen your faith. If you want to break bad habits, you need to set boundaries, remove temptations, and stay accountable. If you want to become a person of impact, you need to start serving, giving, and stepping into your calling. Transformation is not a passive process. It is an active pursuit. But the good news is that you are not alone in it. God is with you every step of the way. He is guiding you, strengthening you, and shaping you into the person He created you to be. Ethiopia's faith transformation was not just about adopting a new religion. It was about embracing a new identity. It was about a nation choosing to align itself with God's truth and walking in His purpose. The same opportunity is available to you, no matter where you have been, no matter what your past looks like, no matter what struggles you have faced. Transformation is possible, and it starts with you. Are you willing to let go of the old and step into the new? Are you ready to allow God to transform your heart, your mind, and your life? Because when you do, everything changes. Your past no longer defines you. Your struggles no longer control you. Your purpose becomes clearer. Your faith becomes stronger, and your life begins to reflect the power of God at work within you. Transformation begins within, and once it starts, nothing can stop what God is doing in your life.